Welcome to the Recharge Your Life video series. I'm your host, Phaedra Antioco, and we're talking about how to free yourself from the hidden traumas of, the 5 Ds: disease, divorce, death, debt, and disappointments. Try saying that really fast. And today we have an expert who really knows about making a decision to have a divorce, going through with it, and really creating herself as a new, strong woman afterwards. Denise Dominguez is going to talk about how to heal the past and live your roar. But first, let me tell you a bit about Denise Dominguez. She's a woman's empowerment coach, speaker, and author of Empower the Woman Within, Stepping into Total Freedom. Denise empowers women globally by having them face their fears and limiting beliefs that block them from living the life they dream of. And Denise has a clear vision for seeing the trouble spots that exist in every stuck situation and the creativity to transform it instantly. Through her own struggles with divorce, Denise has managed to come out of it with a smiling face and a positive attitude through it all. Wow. When Denise is not coaching women, she's enjoying family time, cooking, traveling, enjoying live music, and really just enjoying her life. So please join me with Denise Dominguez. Denise, thank you so much for being here today. And as I work with people who have both physical and emotional pain, especially women, I see that there's often bad relationships, a history of especially dating narcissists or being married to narcissists for several years or afraid to leave relationships. And I see how much physical pain it causes. So I'm so grateful to have you here today.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here with you and your audience, and super excited to talk about this because this is so vital to our health, right? It's like, let's put all the pieces of the puzzle together for them.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about your story. I'm asking our experts here to share. We're not perfect. We've all, as human beings, we are involved in the school of life. Life happens, and some of us are more resilient than others to pull through. Some of us it weighs heavy on. Some have more traumas than others. But let's share your story to give people hope that they can pull through too.
Absolutely. I would love to. So my story is I was married for 22 years to a narcissistic man and didn't even know it. Because there was no physical or sexual abuse involved, that's where the disconnection was for me, and where I didn't realize that what I had been going through was actual abuse. There was a lot of making excuses for him. Well, he comes from this kind of family, or he's this culture, and yada, yada, yada. And so all the excuses clouded the truth. And so it came to an end after I went through a series of traumas with him in 2008 to 2011, and finally had the courage to leave and really move 3 states away. Yeah. With nothing but a futon couch and an air mattress, because literally I was just wanting to escape that relationship. It had been.
Tell me how you were feeling. Let's give a picture. So okay. The people listening, whether male or female, because it can work both ways being in these challenging relationships. It honestly, in my life, I've had experience with this too. It was the most painful and the hardest emotional pain to heal. Mm-hmm. What were you feeling? What were your symptoms? And what finally was the straw that broke the camel's back? Who was it? What support? What did you do to leave?
So what I was feeling was lost, very lost. It was a feeling of, where do I go? Where do I turn? My life had been turned upside down, and just like there was no direction. So the biggest feeling that is coming up for me was feeling lost. And then of course there was sadness and loneliness, because I'd never felt this before in my life. I'd never felt lost before in my life. I always had like some kind of a direction to go to. And so the sadness, the loneliness, what do I do now? And coming to a point where the biggest pivotal moment in my life where I was like, this is it. Because I was planning to leave him before this moment I'm going to share with you.
And were you working? Were you able to financially take care of yourself, or you were?
I was running his business.
Oh.
So all of my income came through his his business.
So many women stay because of money and afraid of not being able to be empowered to create that income to survive for themselves.
Yeah, I was totally financially dependent on him, 100%. And so prior to this pivotal moment happening in my life, I was at a place where there was these traumas that were coming up. And so I was planning to leave, and he found out, which led to another incident or traumatic event. So he's the father of my children. So when this happened, there was that guilt inside of me where my kids are crying, please, mom, don't leave dad. And so I was, I buckled, and I was like,
I'm hurting for you.
Yes. I was like, no, I can't do that to my kids. What kind of a mother would I be? That's, so then I went through that, weathered that storm, as they say.
Pretty much.
And then I think it was like 2.5 years later, something else happened again. And I was just like, I can't. Like, the kids now were a little bit older, they're graduating high school, and now they've gone through these traumatic events. So they're seeing like, dad is this, and this is happening, and this and that. So that was when this moment came. And this was when let me see if I can remember correctly. This was when he was messing around, he was self-medicating. So he ended up in the hospital again. He ended up being sedated. He was in the hospital with his hands tied to the bed and
restrained.
Yes, restrained. And the breathing machine was on him because they didn't know what he ingested. They didn't know what he had taken. So as a precautionary, they put the breathing tube down his throat. So we show up at the hospital, my children and I, and this is the scene that my kids see. So we didn't go into the room because I thought that would be like even worse for them to see. But I could see in the corner when I was talking to the doctor, I could see him in the corner of my eye. And that was when I was like, this is crazy town. I can't even do this anymore. This is not healthy for me. This is not healthy for him, because I was enabling his behavior. And this is not healthy for my children. So that was when I finally had the courage to totally put the plan in place to leave and disconnect myself from this situation, this relationship, because it was so toxic and it was getting worse and worse and worse. So that was...
Enough is enough. You left.
Yes, enough is enough, right. That was 2011.
Wow.
Yeah.
And just so many questions. And I know it sounds like he was suffering too.
Absolutely.
Your ex-husband, your husband at the time, was suffering, and the kids, and then the guilt of what the kids are seeing and how to be around the kids when you could barely hold yourself together. Your nervous system's falling apart, and the things that even myself from my own parents' separation, even in my 40s, I still have challenges, and it's almost like those flashback moments come up. So it's generational of healing.
Yes.
So how did you get the courage to leave? It was enough. What did you do? How did you get there? Because so many women are in this situation. And I want to find an opportunity for them to finally take that leap. Because first of all, did you feel better afterwards? Like, it was hard at first, but that moment where the anchor removes and you start to feel lifted?
I felt better immediately. Once I had finally made that decision that I was going to do this, I already felt that heavy energy being lifted, because the way that I left when he was still in the hospital, I was laying in bed with him. Like, we were talking, and he knew that I was making this decision, even though he didn't want this to happen. But I was like, in my mind, I was like, we can't keep doing this, because this,
it's such a dance, because I'm sure you felt like, I just get this vision of, there were brief moments of okayness that allowed you to stay. You were feeling good, then it pulls away, and it's just this push-pull, isn't it?
Absolutely. So that I love him. I still love him. I want the best for him, but I can't, some people just don't mix together well. They just can't be together. I'm grateful for the 22 years. I'm grateful for the children that we have. I'm grateful for the experiences that I've had with him, including the traumas and the dramas, because I've healed from them. And I know how to turn that around and teach women how to come through their mess. But and you know what's funny, Phaedra, is that the behavior that he had no longer exists since I left.
Wow. Wow.
So I was a co-creator in
Yes.
all of that.
We are going to get to that common denominator. And I
Okay.
have a question for you. If I had magical powers and I'm waving a magic wand in front of you and I could take away that pain and I could take away all of that you went through today, would you erase it?
No.
Tell me more. Why? Why not?
Because it molded me to who I am now. So it literally gifted me what I can now share with the world. So all of that, at the time, if you would have asked me that, oh yeah, I would have taken you up on that offer in a New York minute.
So much pain. I'm feeling your pain. I've been there. Yes. And it's like, yeah.
I would have taken you up on that. You wouldn't have even finished the sentence and I would have been like, yes. But now that I've gone through all of the healing processes, now I know like all of that happened for me, not to me. And it's a gift that now I get to share with women. Because like when you were just asking me that, before I couldn't talk about this without doing what Oprah calls the ugly cry, right? I would just like, and bust out into this cry because there was all that pain and hurt still raw and still coming up. And now when you ask me that, it's funny because there's still deep down, there's still that a little bit of pain. Like I wish that we hadn't gone through that, but at the same time, I'm thankful that I went through that because I was able to learn from those experiences. And the bigger piece of it is that I get to share this with other women around the world and help them heal from like the worst scenarios that you can think of in a relationship. And I share with them, like, if I did it, so can you. I'm no different than you.
Exactly. Yeah. So much to cover, so much to cover. This is a huge topic, and women that are watching are probably listening closely. So give us a picture of what steps you took once you left to live on your own and really just to survive.
So the steps I took was first, I got really creative and thought out of the box to manifest $10,000 because that was the amount that I felt was enough for me to move 3 states away, get an apartment, have all the bills paid for a certain amount of time. I think I did like 3 months to give me time to find a job and get some income coming in. So I really had to think out of the box because like I said, I was running his business. So
what was your mindset? What was going on in here? Because I can see women listening. Oh no, I can't get $10,000. I've never had that much. I don't even have $100.
Neither did I.
What was going on inside you? It's like this, how I survived my major car accident. There was this inner fire in me, right? And I wasn't going to let it weigh me down. It was like through every cell of my being.
Yes.
What were you telling yourself? And I know it was hard. Did you have support?
No, I did all of this on my own.
Nobody.
Yes.
No friend support, emotional support?
No, not really.
Wow.
It was at that time, the pain was so deep, I didn't share this with anybody. I didn't.
Or if you did, you probably pushed people away.
Yes, I did.
You know how you do that too?
Yes.
It's like, no, they're so tired of hearing how bad it is. They say I should just leave, but I can't leave.
Yeah, there was that. Absolutely. So I didn't share this with anybody. Even through like the hospital times, there was only like one family member that I would let them know like the status of what was going on. And then they would report back to other family members because the thought of me repeating this over and over again was like killing me inside. I couldn't do that. So no, I didn't have any real emotional support, I should say. And what I was feeling inside was I was on survival mode.
Pretty much.
I was like, this is happening no matter what. I don't know how this is going to happen, but I would visualize the end result. And the end result for me was to have my own place with my daughter where there was peace and calm. So there's no anxiety because, living with a narcissist, there's a lot of walking on eggshells. You hear a sound and it jolts you, like hearing the garage door open or hearing a door slam. And it's like, what's going to happen? You never know. And so my visual was having a nice apartment where we can be relaxed and feel peace and calm, having a job, a steady income, and really just feeling freedom. That was the biggest piece for me, was because I literally felt like I had been let out of prison. So feeling freedom inside of me was the biggest piece that I was feeling through all of this. And I manifested all of it, every single bit of it. Plus, 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 plus.
I want to stop for a minute and talk about these emotions, because so many times, and I'm a somatic experiencing practitioner, and I help people regulate their nervous system. And sometimes we are so wired to go to all that's wrong, and including feeling all the pain. Oh, there's so much anxiety. I'm depressed today. I'm heavy. I'm tired. How I got the courage to leave a relationship eventually was saying the serenity prayer. And grant me the courage. And I
Mm-hmm.
literally had to think of the cowardly lion and get that courage and feel the courage inside every cell of my body. And I know that maybe you've done research with visualization. The top experts say to visualize it, to feel it, to
Mm-hmm.
hear it, act as if. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, feel it, act as if. And that's what I was so focused on. I was focused on the end result and how that was going to feel for me. So the peace, the calm, so no more walking on eggshells. I would visualize me looking around my apartment and like relief.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's no more craziness. There's no more yelling. There's no more screaming. There's no more hospitals. There's no more cops. There's no more psych wards. It's gone. There's just like crickets. There's nothing. So yeah, I would keep going to that piece. In fact, when I would drive down the roads in Florida, because that's where I'm from, Florida, I would visualize the trees in North Carolina. So as I was driving down the road, I would block out the palm trees and put in the trees of North Carolina and visualize like I was driving in North Carolina, to really put myself there, even though I was still in Florida.
Oh, wow, 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 wow. That's just
Yeah.
so powerful. Okay, so you manifested money, and
Mm-hmm.
that's that inner fire, determination to get me where I need to. I'm going to do this no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
Survival mode kicks in, just like those mothers who lift the car off the baby,
Yep,
you know?
exactly.
What next? What happened
What
next? What other steps did you take? What
um
were those stepping stones along the way to fully support you?
putting the plan together. So thinking about where, you know what, buying things for the apartment. I bought little things for the apartment that made me feel. So I remember I had this black, it was a plaque, it was black, and in the center of it, it had like a home,
Yeah.
and it said home sweet home. And so I started to buy things for the apartment that I didn't even have yet. I wasn't even out of Florida yet. And I visualized this plaque on the wall and seeing it for myself, like this is the piece that's bringing me, calm, peace and calm. So there was that piece, that's part of the manifestation step, right? Is to do things as if it's already there, because you don't buy stuff for a house you don't have yet. Yes, you do. And then once I got here, we had an apartment in 4 days. I had a job in 4 weeks, because again, I was in such survival mode. I was like, this is happening. I'm going to get a job today. Every day was, I'm going to get a job today. So I would dress as I'm going on an interview, and I would show up to these places what I had experience in, and I would hand them my resume, and I would say, are you looking for, X, Y, and Z? And I would just drive around and just show up. So no resumes, submitting cover letters, none of that. I did it. I did the footwork so that I would have a job quicker than somebody who has to submit 200 resumes with cover letters and all of that.
So can we take a moment, because I can sense maybe someone's listening and I've been there. Come on, Denise, that yeah, it worked for you. It's not going to work for me. Or I can't, I'm such a mess. There's no way, no one's going to hire me. I barely graduated high school. But if we can take a moment energetically to support the women and men listening here that need to make that change, that they can feel that hope and that strength, that they can pause for a moment and get there, hand those resumes out, keep going.
So what I would say to them is that I too just have a high school diploma. I don't have a college degree.
Yeah.
And I was only going after the jobs that I barely even knew because I ran his business for a while. But here's the piece that stepped in: confidence. Like I thought to myself, well, if I could run his business and run it successfully, where I could do anything. And for those who are listening and you're just a mom, think about it this way. You run a business too, because you run a household. You make sure the kids get to school on time. You make sure they have homework done. You're the boss. You're the CEO of this, foundation. So it's not, I'm just a mom and I'm a housewife. No, you run a business just as anybody else would. So you put your energy into that boss mode, right? And you run the show. So who says you can't run the show somewhere else? Everybody's looking for, fresh energy, somebody that they can train to mold them the way they want their employee to be, or their CEO or whatever. So it's really that confidence piece to be like, this is happening no matter what. And the universe works in such beautiful, mysterious ways. It honestly, it doesn't matter. If you just have that confidence that this is happening and you keep your focus on the end result, you'd be amazed at what will fall into place for you. I mean, who
Yeah.
knows what possibilities are waiting?
I love this. So we've come up with some emotions, some core feelings that are really good. First
Mhm.
is the courage. Grant me
Mhm.
the courage to change the things that I can. And then building that confidence. So even if you can find a memory of when you were the most courageous in your life, and maybe you were a 5-year-old, and we're going to get to childhood and limiting beliefs, but maybe there was a time in your life where you felt that courage, or a time in your life where you felt that confidence. And almost pretend, right? It's like put on
Mhm.
that mask, put on that bodysuit of courage, of confidence. Even
Mhm.
just for a brief moment can help pull you through, right? What is it? One day at a time. Heck, 1 minute at a time, they say
Yes.
in recovery programs.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, this moment. And that's exactly what it was. It was this moment, get through this moment, get to the next moment, get to the next moment. And there are times in life, think of like a little child, especially like a younger one, 2 or 3, even 4. When something is put in front of them, like a kitchen or something to play with, they go right into the role of whatever that is, right? They
Yep.
don't question themselves.
They're
They don't say,
pure spirits.
yeah, they don't say, well, I don't know how to be a mom or a dad. I don't know how to be a teacher. They go right into it and they like fake it till they make it, right? They just do it. And that's the confidence piece that we've lost through our growing up and getting into adulthood, because all of the messages that were, you've never been a teacher, so you can't be a teacher. You've never been X, Y, and Z. So how do you think you can even do that? It's like we believe these limiting beliefs and it hinders us from being,
Yeah.
I mean, have fun with it. My message right now is just have fun with it. Like, we take life way too serious.
And that's so true. I was even myself, I had someone, I hired someone to come help me clean out the garage because I didn't have a lot of time. And it was all my stuff, all my emotional attachments. I was like exhausted just looking at the stuff to put away. And my friend who came was like, "Doo, doo, doo." She cleaned up, it was done because she didn't have the mental peace. And we're born such pure spirits. And
Yes.
life happens to us. And we create stories and we put meaning, especially after 3, 0 to 3, it's really imprinted our attachment styles. And then 0 to 7, it lasts that long, that stretch where that trauma can come forward all the way into adulthood. And I
Yes.
just had that experience. It's like, if I could just get this head out of the way,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like you left. You finally had the courage to left, and you had some confidence. Home sweet home. I'm going to find a work. What
Mm-hmm.
next? What did you do?
I went through 2 years of being wild. So there's this phase that when you've been in these toxic relationships and you felt trapped for so long, and because my whole mentality was, I can do anything I want. I can be who I want, go where I want. I don't have to report to anybody, right? There was this sense of freedom.
Yeah.
But what happened is because I had been through that abusive relationship for so long and went through those traumas and dramas, I was not honoring myself. I was not honoring my body.
You probably
I
didn't know who
was,
you were.
no, I didn't.
It's
I
like,
did
who
not.
am I? Oh my gosh, it's like the foundation's gone. It's scary.
I,
It's like a
yes,
withdrawal, right?
I did. I did ask that question. Okay, so now I'm not his wife anymore, and I'm not their mom, because now they're growing up. They graduated high school. You know, they're bigger now. Who am I now? And what is my purpose in life, right?
Yeah.
Because even through that, I was running his business. I felt like there was a purpose. Something was going somewhere. What's my purpose in life? So those questions did come up. So I went through 2 years of my what I call my wild stage, where I was numbing myself with alcohol and men. And like I said, not honoring myself, not honoring my body, thinking that drinking on the weekends and getting drunk would take away the pain that I wasn't even acknowledging. Because at this point, I didn't know the truth of the matter. I didn't know the truth of what I had really been through. Yeah, I knew it was screwed up, and I knew that. And I knew it was toxic, but I knew the absolute truth of it. So there was a lot of drinking, there was a lot of numbing, there was a lot of dating. And so I did that for 2 years before
Yeah.
it started. Go ahead, were you going to say something?
That's real. And I just want to put a name to it so people watching can understand, right? There's this void and this aloneness and abandonment feelings. And you might go and start drinking to loosen up and maybe sleeping with people here and there. And it is sex and love addiction. And there is a 12-step program for that, that women and men can go get help for it, because you literally then use the alcohol and the men or the relationship as a drug to get that affection to help you validate you that you are worthy or that you feel good. It's literally no different, and sometimes stronger, I would imagine, than heroin.
Yeah, it was. It was. And, you know, when you just said that, it reminded me that I was very addicted to my ex and the attention. When I didn't get the attention that I, you know, craved from him, that I went instantly into the loneliness feeling and the emptiness and the disconnect, even though our whole relationship was disconnected.
But it's pathological loneliness. It's not even just, oh, I'm a little lonely or I'm alone. It's like, I'm dying, I'm alone. And that stems right from our childhood attachments with our parents, right? We tend to find a partner that might be similar to a parent that didn't serve us well.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. But I love that you found the confidence and you just had this fight in you, this drive. Have you always been that way?
When it comes to like fight or flight type of situations, then yes, I have always been that way. Like this is happening now because it's almost like the water is drowning and it's coming up to my nose. And I know if I don't act fast, then something needs to change, something needs to happen. So I have done that before, but like it gets like way to the top before I snap into.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. So you went through a period of probably sex and love addiction. Let me go out and get this hit so I can feel beautiful and validated again.
Yep.
And then I probably had some traumatic relationships in there, I would imagine.
None of them were relationships.
Okay.
They were just dates. They weren't really, I mean, 2 months is not, to me, I don't think, a really like what a real relationship is.
But you were trying to find yourself. You were just seeking
Absolutely.
comfort any way that you could. But when was the day you woke up from that? What happened?
It was a process. So the thought slowly crept into my mind of like, Denise, this is not you. You don't do this. Who are you being right now? So these thoughts started to slowly penetrate into my brain of like, you know, who are you now? Like now you went through that, you came out these phases, right? Just like when we grieve, we go through all these phases and now you've gone through this phase. So now it's like, are you going to get back to who you are? So what I did at that point, I had actually hired a business coach because I wanted to start my own business.
May I ask who it was? Is it the same business coach that I hired?
Yes.
So my story real brief, quick in here is that I just was I felt lost and I had just ended a relationship with a narcissist and then my dog died. So I had this, as a single woman, I lost my kid basically.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I found my purpose and
Mm-hmm.
became empowered, and we connected, you and I, a long time ago, and it changed our worlds, right? It just, we needed a
Absolutely.
vision, a direction, but that emotional support. So here we were in a group of what, 100 and some women.
Mm-hmm. At
And
the time,
yeah,
it was, yeah, 100. And so that's when it started. I was starting to reclaim my life back, to reclaim who I was.
yeah,
Little by little, I was like, I started with hiring the business coach. And then, like there's some personal growth sprinkled in that year program. And as I was learning this personal growth, it got stronger and stronger, this need to find who I am, because I knew that wasn't me. And even before that, that wasn't me. So the who am I kept getting stronger and stronger. The question kept getting stronger and stronger. And so through that was like more personal growth, more personal growth. So what happened was I ended that year, and because I hired a business coach first, she was like, go out there and get on a call and get these women and put them in your program. And I was like, what program? What? I don't have any of that. And what happened is I was getting on the phone with these women, and the energy was not, it wasn't coming through. So how could a wounded person help heal a
mm-hmm.
wounded person? You can't do it. It's impossible. And that's what was happening. I was choking on my words. I didn't know how to help. I didn't have any tools in my toolbox. I didn't have anything. So,
Well, and it's a self-worth issue too. It's talking, and
absolutely.
it's like this subconscious, like, am I good enough? Can I
Yeah.
really help these people? And it's like, you have the best life experience. That's what I always say, you teach what you need to learn.
But I
And
hadn't gone through my healing process at
you
that
weren't
point.
healed. Okay.
Right? I was not healed. So what I did, so that was the business part of, and then on my personal part of my life, what was happening then is I was noticing that I was dating the same type of guy over and over. The same patterns were showing up as my ex. So then I thought, wait a minute, Denise, you're the common denominator here. These people don't know each other, but you keep attracting like the same types of scenarios, literally almost word for word. So I was like, okay, let's take a step back. And I completely stopped dating. And I took 18 months and dove deep into my empowerment coaching, into healing me, and to looking at my wounds and looking at my past and healing all of that. And that's what changed everything for me, was when I took that time to put me first, to put me, front and center, and look at all of that crap that I had been through. And that's when the truth came out, right? That's when the truth of, you were in an abusive relation. Yeah. You were in an abusive relationship, Denise. He was a narcissist. You went through traumas and dramas. That's when all the truth bubbled up to the surface. But I needed that. I needed to see that and learn that. That was a hard pill for me to swallow, that I was an abused woman. Very hard pill for me to swallow. Another hard pill for me to swallow was, my ex didn't love me. He never loved me. As much as I loved him, he never loved me. And he's incapable of loving even our children. That's an even harder pill.
And did you feel resentment that you lost your whole life? Because that's another thing. I gave for the family. I didn't get my own career. I didn't have a way to support myself. And then there's that piece of, poor me, why? I wish I could change it. Why did this happen to me? Or why didn't I leave sooner?
Yes. I carried a lot of guilt of, I should have left sooner. Yes, because then my children would have seen, heard, and went through what they did. There was a lot of, my whole life felt like a lie. And so there's, again, another piece of the phase that I went through, and really looking at it. And so doing the pity party thing, and that's okay. Everybody's listening. Go through your pity party. Let those feelings come up. But then after that, it was looking at it through different lenses, through clearer lenses. Because now I really dove deep into like kind of scraping the wounds and like getting all the dirt out and really getting down and dirty in there and having them heal, and looking at what happened, and then starting to shift everything into, this all happened for me instead of this all happened to me. And that started to shift things. So then I worked on my guilt that I had, and knowing that everything that happened for a reason, including for my children. So the guilt subsided, all of the pains and agony that I have been through, I started to view it differently instead of like coming from a victim standpoint and why me and this shouldn't happen and why did I pick him and he's this and that. I looked at it from an empowered state and woman energy and looked at it like this all happened for me and what a gift all of it was. And that we all have our own journey. I have my own journey separate from my children. I don't have the same journey as them and they don't have the same journey as me.
School
so right,
We're here to
exactly.
learn. Yeah.
Right. So I had to separate myself because I was like that mom. I was like, I will not let anybody, hurt them. And I was so protective. And when I couldn't protect them, I had to see like they have their own journey and it's not my responsibility to lead them down their path. They have their own path. They have to figure things out for themselves.
Right. And you said the word empowerment. And what I feel is that is wanting to feel power inside. So if we could just pause for a minute, everybody, and just find that moment in Denise, you too, when you were so empowered. What does feeling powerful feel like inside your body? And even if it's just in your little toe, to just tune into that power, because it is there within us. I just had a client intensive here from out of town, and she said, I feel like I don't have power. And we had to get her in touch and growl and get it out, just like a healthy tiger, protecting its cubs.
I feel like we go through moments of that. When I describe my survival mode, I felt like that was empowerment because I was digging myself out of the trenches and stepping up and going, this is not healthy and I need to change this. So that felt like empowerment, even though once I got to the next phase, you look at that differently. It's all these phases that we go through. So we all have this inside of us. Phaedra, you know that. Yeah. We all have this. We just have to acknowledge it, that it's there, and let it come up and out. And that voice inside of our head that says, I'm not empowered, that's our ego that is always trying to keep us safe and protect us. And instead of going, I call it the negative Nancy or the Debbie Downer, instead of like hating on our negative Nancy or Debbie Downer, love her, love her away. So keep loving that. Like, thank your ego. Thank you. I get it. I understand. You're trying to protect me. I'm so appreciative of that. But, have that conversation within yourself and say, but I'm here. I'm stepping up. I'm going to do this. It's all going to work out great. So it's like, I call it like ego versus heart, like when we're in our heads versus our heart, and just those two conversations, like get this one as small as you can and get this one as big as you can.
Oh my gosh. So that reminds me of a quote, and I just pulled it up.
Okay.
This quote got me through a lot because it's visceral pain. It's like deep pain. And the day came when the risk to remain tight in a bud was more painful than the risk it took to blossom. And that's what you're talking about, that contraction and then that expansion. And I see your book behind you.
Yes.
Like, that's a big feat to create a book. Look how much you have expanded as a great experience of hope for people here watching.
Yes. It's like, it's that blossom. It's just so amazing that you can take your mess and turn it into your message, and take your pain and turn it into purpose, and all of those phrases that people have, like to take all of that and turn it into something that you can share with the world and show them. This is the biggest piece that I share with women, is that I'm no different than you. We're just different versions of each other. So what I did, you can do. I'm not special. I'm not different. We're the same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so really, what are your tips and secrets then to help people how to free themselves from the hidden traumas of divorce, the hidden trauma of an illness? Because I'm curious if you had pain, physical pain with any of your injuries, and how do you just heal yourself in general from trauma? What do you teach with that?
So during my relationship, I did have chronic headaches, depression, anxiety, and stomach issues. all the time.
Yep.
So the headaches would be so bad that I had to just separate myself, very frequent. And guess what? I don't have anymore.
I bet it cleared up pretty quick once you were leaving. I would just imagine it's like that weight just gets lifted off of you to some degree. But then there's
Yep.
cycles of good days and bad days.
Yep. No medication. I actually didn't even, realize it, because once I left the relationship, I didn't think about like, oh, I used to have chronic headaches and, well, now they're not here anymore. So what tips I would give to your audience is, this is the biggest question that I share with people. If I truly and deeply loved myself, would I have endured 22 years of a toxic relationship? And the answer that comes up every single time is no, I would not have. So self-love and everything that's in the container of self-love is the key to having healthy relationships and healing the past relationships. So for me, self-love, it involves forgiveness, trust, and truth, and the love. That's the 4 pieces.
So
And
forgiveness, trust,
truth, and then the love piece,
and
self-love. Right.
love.
So if you incorporate all those 4 components into yourself, and you forgive yourself, you forgive the person, you forgive the injustices that happen, if you trust that everything happened for a reason, trust yourself, trust the process, truth, being your authentic self, telling your truth, sharing your truth, and then loving yourself. So the conversations that you have with yourself. So looking in the mirror and complimenting yourself. Remember, keep that negative Nancy and that Debbie Downer as small as possible, because as women, we go straight into criticism, right? When we look in the mirror. And mirror work is so powerful. So when we look in the mirror and we're criticizing and judging ourselves, that is self-hatred. That is actually self-abuse. Mm-hmm. So when we turn that around and realize, holy crap, I didn't realize I was doing that, because 9 times out of 10, we don't realize that's what's really happening. Yep. So when we turn that conversation around and we look in the mirror and we point out the beautiful things, whatever that is. So something that people would say to us, we generally like, oh yeah, you're great too. We don't say thank you. Thank you for that compliment, right?
That's, how are you doing today? Good. Oh, you look great in that. Oh no.
You look good.
No.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I actually have an amazing quote on my mirror right now, and it says, I remove myself from painful situations. Mm-hmm. And then I have a positive one above it, is spirit is supporting me. I am completely supported. I am safe, and I'm the one who loves myself and provides my safety.
Right.
And it's just wonderful. And I like what you said about just your authentic self. Now, our heart wants something often. Our inner self wants something, and maybe our outside doesn't meet that. Like, for example, you wanted peace, you wanted calm, you wanted love and safety, and you were in a marriage that didn't. And it wasn't until you were able to finally get the outside to match the inside. You were able to take charge, take hold of your life and change it. Mm-hmm. And it lifted. And I want you to speak to that, that inner alignment with the outside world. Because if you're doing stuff that doesn't sit right inside, it's going to cause those migraines, those shoulder, neck pain, back pain.
Everything outside of us is a direct reflection of inside of us. Mm-hmm. So when I look at my life back then, and I look at all of the struggles, all of the pain, all of the hurts, all of the traumas and the dramas, now I know that was a lot of stuff inside of me that I needed to heal, and it kept showing up for a reason. It was life showing me, like, Denise, look at this, look at this, look at this. So when you look at it differently, instead of, if there wasn't bad luck, I wouldn't have any luck at all. When you change that around and go, why is this happening? What do I need to learn from this right now? It changes everything. And the whole thing about body, I always tell everybody, listen to your body always.
It tells you every time. If you're not breathing, if you're clenching your jaw, maybe you don't even know you're clenching your jaw. Mm-hmm. Things have to change, and really starting to listen to the triggers in your environment too.
Yeah.
Getting
triggers are great. right? They're
Talk about
great.
that a little bit. Tell me about triggers.
Absolutely. So when I first dove deep into my empowerment and healing, so there's a trigger exercise that I do with my clients. I learned it through my coaching school, and it goes like this. So you ask yourself, who triggers me or what triggers me? And so when you answer that question, you say, okay, what is the feeling that I get from that trigger? So I'll use me as an example. So when I answered this question, it was my ex. He triggered me. Okay. So a trigger, for your audience, if they don't know exactly what it is, it's something or somebody who pisses you off or hurts you the most. Okay. So when I answered the question, I said, my ex, that's who triggers me, because it's the first person you think of, right? Don't think about it. Just say it. What triggers me about him was that he chose his addiction over us as a family. He chose, very selfish, very self-centered. This was before I knew the truth. So when I said to myself, okay, what does that make me feel like? Well, it makes me feel unheard, unseen. It hurts me. It pains me. Then when you can identify those feelings, then you ask yourself, who made me feel like that when I was growing up? Because it all ties back. So when I go, oh crap, my mom made me feel like that. She made me feel small, insignificant, like I wasn't seen, I wasn't heard. And so then I go, so it's really not about my ex. He was just showing me what I needed to dive into. It's really about me, that little girl, growing up with a mom who constantly criticized me and shamed me and blamed me. Like one time, I was taking a bath and came out, and her and my sister are reading my diary. I was like 8 years old or 10 or I don't know. And like they were laughing at it. And like that's something that you remember forever.
Like you think about it today and you can feel it, huh?
Yeah. And when you're when you're a little girl, having a diary with a little lock, there's a reason there's a lock on that. That's significant to you. You like pour out your feelings in that.
I think so many people do feel that, like embarrassed or shy or afraid to even, because they've had that experience, to journal.
Yeah. It stays with you until you release it. Yeah. So when I tied the feelings back to my childhood, that's when I went in and acknowledged that little girl in me. So whatever that age was, 8 years old is what comes up for me. So then I acknowledge my 8-year-old self. And then I give my 8-year-old self a voice and acknowledge her and love her, so that she no longer feels that shame and that blame and that guilt or whatever the emotions that are coming up for her in that moment. And once you do that, you've healed that trigger. So again, it's not about my ex. It's not about my mom. It's about me in the way I felt in that moment at that age.
And it can come through in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, your 60s, your 70s, 80s, 90s, 100. It just can. And so, yeah, guys, if you're triggered and you're just like in your stuff, really look at, what age am I being right now? What is that feeling?
And trust whatever number comes up.
Okay, that's good.
We're so like, well, that doesn't make sense. I was da-da-da. No, that's your intuition. It came up for a reason. If 8 came up, if 10, 15, whatever number first popped up, go with it. That's it. We overthink things.
And tell us a little bit. So you have I'm like excited to look at it, the free gift that you have. It's a self-love video series.
Yes.
And I love it's a shortcut to teach you how to heal the past and live your roar. So I want to know what a roar is, what living your roar feels like. And tell us about your series.
So it's a 3-part video series, and I just dive right away into the content of what she needs to know. So what I teach my clients, that roar is like that lion, that power, and I call it woman energy. Mm-hmm. And woman energy is a woman who has, basically she's got her shit together, like in all areas of her life, right? So she has healthy boundaries in her relationships. She's not a people pleaser. She steps into her power. She knows when somebody's trying to manipulate her, try to control her, and she nips that in the butt real quick.
So quick.
Right.
No so more pain.
Exactly. Been there, done that. So the 3-part video series, I dive into like the beginning stages of where we are, and most of my clients, in fact, all of them, and including me, we're in mother energy. When we've attracted these narcissistic men, we're in mother energy. So when we're in mother energy, then we have to just heal this split between the mother and the daughter energy, and that automatically rises us up into woman energy. So that's what the video series is about, is I dive into like the beginning. I like to put all the pieces together. So if you've attracted this, then that means this is what's happening. And then I describe the behaviors on both sides. And then I tell them, like, it's not complicated. It's not hard. It's a simple healing of the split. And then you rise up into woman energy. So that's what the video series is going to teach them. So they'll get one every other day. And it also comes with homework assignments.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, Denise Dominguez, it's been such a pleasure to have you here as we talk about healing the hidden traumas. And this is definitely a healing the hidden trauma of divorce, or if you're in a relationship, a toxic relationship. Do you have any last words of strength and hope for any woman or man that's listening that is really struggling right now to get out of a relationship that they know isn't serving them? Or just the hope to, okay, I'm going to leave this marriage. It's not working. I'll feel freer, but how do I get there? Give them some words of hope.
The biggest thing that I say is love yourself. Like, really dive deep into what self-love is, because getting our hair done and getting our nails done is self-care. It's not self-love. So there's a difference between the two. So dive deep into the self-love. What's the conversation that you have with yourself? And if you're in this relationship and you want to get out, ask yourself, is this relationship, is this life, is this situation serving me? Am I supposed to be here? Or is there something waiting for me? Something bigger, something better waiting for me? Do I deserve this treatment? Do I deserve to be crying myself to sleep every night? Do I deserve somebody to treat me like this? When you ask those empowerment questions, the answers come up. So I encourage your audience, just ask the questions and let the answers come to you. Don't go into the ego and try to answer them. So that's the two pieces that I would give to them.
Wow. Well, thank you so much, Denise, for sharing today. I know there's people listening here that are hurting, and I want to acknowledge them. And I hope that we can help today and give them a little sense of hope that they can overcome, they can survive, and they can thrive.
Absolutely.
You're
Well, thank
thriving,
you.
looks like.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here and to share this message with your audience.
Wow, thank you so much, Denise, for sharing your heart, your story, but also how you overcame such a challenging situation and are really living your life now helping other women. What a great, great interview. And I know if you have been in that situation, you might have felt trapped and stuck and not known how to get out of it. So again, listening to these interviews, I hope that you are finding some insights and becoming empowered yourself to help you recharge your life through those challenging situations. So I'm your host, Phaedra Antioco, and if you love these interviews, consider purchasing this series. I've enclosed a lot of bonuses here with this series to really help impact you, to help make a difference in your life. And that includes lots of great bonuses like the Mapping Trauma in Your Body 5-day series that I produced. And not only that, it also includes a one-on-one private session with me where you and I can work together to really help you uncover some of those hidden traumas and also to give you strategies to help pull you through. And that's what it's about. You're learning all of these strategies here, and I want to be able to help you really instill them and do some positive action steps to help you break free from that physical and emotional pain you might be experiencing. So go ahead if you're interested and purchase the series, and it'll help reinforce this, and you can listen to the interviews over and over again during your challenging situations that happen in this school of life that we have. All right, thanks, and I appreciate you, and I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day.